guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks again for stopping by. In today's video I am going to be giving you a few tips on how to deal with Talipes or Clubfoot. So if you're new here, my name is Jodie, I am mum to 4 little boys and my third son Marco was born with Talipes, also known as Clubfoot. So this may not interest all of you, but I know some of you who are subscribed to my channel are subscribed for the Clubfoot videos, so I thought that I would just give you a few tips on how to deal with the whole process, right from the casting phase all the way through to the boots and bar phase, and give you a few tips and tricks on what I've learnt. If you have just stumbled across my video because you're researching Talipes on YouTube and videos on how to cope or how to help, then thank you for clicking on my video. I really do hope this is going to give you a insight in how to take care of your baby that's born with Talipes. We've had a very, very positive journey so far. It has been tough, that goes without saying, but it's been positive. The treatment has been so amazing for Marco, completely life-changing. I just wanted to let you know that everything is going to be okay and your baby will be absolutely fine with the right treatment. So I'm going to crack on with the video because I have quite a few tips here for you. So I'm going to get started with the casting phase. So the casting phase is going to be the very first phase that your baby will have. It's just a few weeks of casting in which they manipulate the feet position from being inwards to being outwards, which is where they should be. It's a non-invasive treatment, as in the casting shouldn't really hurt. It's kind of just stretching their feet and teaching their feet how to be in the right position. One of the questions I got asked was, do you wash the baby when he or she has their casts fitted? And we didn't give Marco a bath. I know that sounds horrible, but it's not worth getting the casts wet because they can be uncomfortable and then they can get really sore underneath the casts and you won't be able to see it. So it is best to just completely avoid any bath or shower. So what I would do was just lay him down on a towel and then just give him a flannel wash. And that way I made sure that nothing ran down underneath the cast, and I knew that way then his legs underneath there would be absolutely fine and not sore. So best advice is to just avoid any bath or shower. So number 2, soaking off the casts. Some people do it, some people don't. I personally never did, but I did do a bit of research on it, and obviously I spoke to the nurses when we were going through the casting treatment, and for me I just felt like I didn't want to do it at home in case I did it wrong. You get casted for a week and then you go back to your appointment and they saw off the cast to then refit another one straight away. If you want your baby to have a bit of free time before then, or just to have a bath before you then go and get casted again for another week, you can soak off the casts yourself at home, but it is only advised to do so the day of your appointment. So the best way to soak off your casts at home is to mix white vinegar and water together, soak a towel inside the water and wrap the towel around the cast until the plaster starts getting soft, and then you can just unravel the cast once it's soft enough. But remember to only do so on the morning of your appointment because baby's so young, they can start to lose correction in just a few hours, which is quite scary. For me personally, I just think it's best to wait. Also clothing with casts, it depends whether you're a winter or a summer baby. I put Marco in a vest so his casts were free. I also made some leg warmers. I crocheted back then, so I crocheted him some leg warmers just so the cast didn't look so terrifying. I tend to either like put a blanket around him so people couldn't see, or I put the leg warmers on and people would be like, oh, they're so cute, like they looked like leggings, and people never really questioned it. I still actually managed to dress him in baby grows and just leggings, just obviously a bigger size, but also it's a good idea to have easy access to nappies, especially in the full leg cast, because it can be a bit of a faff to be undoing poppers and zips and all that kind of stuff. So definitely make sure that it is easy access so you can change baby's nappy. I also found that during the casting phase, if baby was ever in the car seat or in a bouncy chair, or even just lying down, because the casts are so heavy and obviously your baby is so small. I always found propping the legs up onto like a rolled up blanket so it was soft for them. They had a bit of a leg rest to take the pressure off their hips as well, because when a plaster cast is dry it is so heavy, especially for tiny little babies. So I would also recommend checking baby's toes after the cast has been applied, because the cast can sometimes be a little bit too tight, and you'll be able to tell by the colour of their toes whether the cast is too tight or not. If it is too tight, then definitely go back and get them to recast. That's never happened to Marco, but I have heard that it is a very common thing, so definitely keep an eye on your baby's toe colour just to make sure the cast isn't too tight. I found the way of getting around during the casting phase was easy to just put Marco in the sling. You do have to go careful though, because obviously the cast is rock solid and you cannot bend baby's knees, so I would always just do the sling a little bit loose to get him in and then tighten it up afterwards. I wanted him to feel secure, and obviously being casted can't be nice, so I wanted to make sure that he was close all the time and that he was comfortable and that he knew that I was always there. It's definitely just trial and error to see what makes your baby happy. Also be prepared for questions. I had quite a few people asking how he broke his leg or how he broke his ankle, and it did upset me, but as time went on I kind of learned to take it in a positive way, in the fact that they needed to be educated about Clubfoot, because beforehand I hadn't heard of anyone apart from one person, so I was really uneducated. I made sure that I read up loads and spoke to the doctors just so that I knew myself and that I knew then how to educate people further. So when then people asked me what was on his legs, whether that was his cast or his boots and bar, which I'll talk about in a bit, I then took that opportunity to educate them and let them know about Talipes, because any awareness is good, I'd say. I mean, 1 in 1,000 babies are born with Talipes. Also, once the casts have been fitted, baby usually does get a little bit fussy because it is uncomfortable. Obviously their foot has been placed into a position that it's not used to, so it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for the first 24-48 hours, I would say. So just be there to give lots of love and kisses and cuddles. I always try to make Marco as comfortable as possible by just being there all the time. So Marco was casted for 7 weeks and he'd had his tenotomy, which is where they snip the Achilles tendon. After 4 weeks, then what they do is then they cast for 3 weeks to make sure the wound is healed and just to make sure that the ligaments have kind of attached again. Now obviously the tenotomy is a tough process. It is not a nice way of how they do it, and Marco only had numbing cream. They don't tend to put babies so young to sleep because it is a very quick procedure. Just because it's a very quick procedure, it doesn't mean to say that it doesn't hurt or that it's not a big deal, because it is, I think, probably one of the toughest parts of the whole process. It is quite brutal how they do it. I still can't get my head around how little Marco had that done and he was about 5 weeks old. It is just insane. You just fast forward this video if you're a little bit squeamish. They just get a scalpel and they figure out where the tendon is, because obviously in Talipes the Achilles tendon is short, hence why their foot is in. So basically once the cast has taken the feet out, the tendon is still really short, so what they do is they find where the tendon is, get the scalpel, basically like dig it in and snip it. Marco does have really tiny scars, very tiny, like you wouldn't even be able to see it. You have to really get close up. So it releases the tendon, so obviously they snip it, it releases, and then they cast like this so that the tendon then sort of stretches and fuses back together. He has numbing cream, but obviously he was a tiny baby and there is no way to know whether it worked or whether it didn't work, whether he felt it or not. I remember him screaming, and I still remember him screaming in the back of my mind. So obviously it is not a nice procedure, but it is something that has to be done to correct Talipes. You then go into boots and bar, so you get fitted for your boots and bar, which look like this. Now bearing in mind these are his now, so they are bigger. So this is a Ponsetti bar and these are Mitchell boots, so that is what we use and have used right from the start. The boots, they click off It's really, really easy. They do look a lot scarier and they are quite heavy. So again, with your baby being so small and then being in full-time wear, so 23 hours a day for 3 months, every time he was in a bouncer or anything like that, again, I would always make sure that I rolled up a blanket just to put underneath his ankles or his knees, just to support it a bit, because they are so heavy for a tiny baby. So again, with clothing and boots and bar, you ideally don't want to be disconnecting the shoes from the bar every so often to change the nappy or to get them dressed, because the longer their feet are in this position, the better. When you're dressing baby, think about what you're going to get them dressed in and how you're going to change their bums. Obviously, being a girl, I think would be slightly easier because you could put a little popper vest on and a dress, and that would be perfect because you wouldn't ever have to detach the boots from the bar. Being a boy, probably slightly harder. Obviously, just put them in the vest if it is summer, which would be ideal. But also, as I said earlier, I did make some leg warmers as well, so I tend to just put the leg warmers on him so I could still get to his nappy and not have to worry about taking the boots off. But it all depends on how you want to dress your baby. Obviously, you can dress them however you want, but it's just a reminder that you don't want to be clicking off the boots from the bar every so often, because ideally they need to be attached to this bar for 23 hours a day. If the boots start to rub, you can go and ask your orthopedic doctor for some sheepskin just to put behind the heel or around the bend of the foot. So under this tongue here, you could put some sheepskin, and sometimes if the boot is ill-fitting, it will rub. The sheepskin will fill it out a bit and give it a bit of padding and make sure the foot doesn't slip. We used sheepskin maybe for about a month and then that was it. It was absolutely fine. So just go back and ask for some sheepskin, and that really, really does help. If your baby has any sores, just keep them on, because that is why you are having this treatment, is to correct their feet. They need to be in this bar 23 hours a day for 3 months. You really need to kind of follow it quite strictly, and I think that's why we have had such a successful and positive journey, because we have stuck to what the doctor has told us to stick to, and Marco has been absolutely amazing. Anybody on the outside who doesn't know our story would never know. And the good thing with these is as well, I could put him in the sling and carry him in the sling still, but I found that he was more comfortable like that, because again, he was close up to me and it wasn't uncomfortable for him. I could still get him in and out the sling with the boots and bar on, and it was fine. You will still get asked loads of questions. Oh, what are those on his feet? Oh, he looks like he's going snowboarding. What do they do? Has he got hip dysplasia? Because everybody always thought that Marco had hip dysplasia, because I think that is more known than Talipes or Clubfoot. People know it more as Clubfoot. I would just again take that moment to educate them and let them know what these boots did, because if they don't wear these boots, then they're not going to have corrected feet. So honestly, having the cast and wearing the boots is completely life-changing. So when you're in the boots and bar for 23 hours a day, you are allowed 1 hour free, where I chose to give Marco a bath and give him a really, really good scrub down and just cream him up and just make sure he was nice and fresh to go back into his boots and bar after. That hour does go quick, so definitely cherish it. Play with their little feet. I always made sure that I made a big thing of his feet, and I would give them a massage so that he enjoyed his hour free. I remember those hours that I was allowed to have his boots off, because I was like, oh my god, I can hold my baby without massive metal bar in the way. And I would always make sure that I massaged his feet and did some little exercises with him just to really get him to move around, because these are so restricting. He actually really enjoyed being free, but then it's always just so heartbreaking having to put it back on again. But you just have to tell yourself why you're doing it and why you're putting the boots on them. If ever you feel like really sad and you just think, God, why am I doing this? And you just feel awful, like I did most of the time. I didn't have many things to look on or any sort of positive stories. I just went on a website and remember reading loads and loads of negative things, and I just thought, oh my god, what are we doing? Why is this us? Why do we have to do this? So this is another reason why I wanted to upload videos like this, is because I wanted there to be a positive story on it, and like a happy ending in a way, because I never found that when I was looking up Talipes. I'd always see awful pictures of these darling crying little babies that just the treatment didn't work, or they had really sore feet, and I just thought, oh my god, this is going to be the worst thing ever. And it still is such a bad thing, and it was such a terrible time for us. It was awful, it was stressful, it was really upsetting, and I was just emotional. We've had such a positive story, and I really can't complain, because I mean, I look at him running around now and dancing and chasing after his brothers and running rings around me, and I just think this is exactly why I did it, because he now can live a normal life. So as hard as it can get and as hard as it can be, just keep going, and remember the end result is going to be so life-changing for them. Even just thinking back now makes me a bit teary. Gosh, I just wish that I could have put myself in that position instead of him. But I look at everything that he's been through, all the casting, the tenotomy, the boots and bar all the time, even he still sleeps in it now, and I just think, gosh, I am so glad that we have done this, and I feel so grateful to be able to have this treatment on the NHS. I know it's not as easy for some, unfortunately, but we are so unbelievably lucky that we get this treatment. So stay positive, everything is going to work out absolutely fine. Oh, there is one thing as well, I have linked a video down below on how to put on boots and bar. If ever you have any questions or you need any advice, or I haven't covered anything in this video that you are wondering, then please feel free to message me, because I will always be there to answer your questions and to give advice as much as I can. Please give me a thumbs up if you found this video useful. Please subscribe while you're over here if you haven't subscribed already. I would love for you to stick around, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thanks for watching, guys.